The Texans are 8-6. Unfortunately, due to the NFL's very confusing and complicated tie-breaker process, they are still on the outside looking in, even though the Jacksonville Jaguars are 8-6 and the Indianapolis Colts are also 8-6. Joining me in studio after a very fun Case Keenum-led Houston Texans win on Sunday in Nashville against the Tennessee Oilers is DJ Bien-Aime of ESPN. What was this weekend like from the perspective of when did you know that it was going to be Case Keenum starting for the Texans instead of Davis Mills?
Side note, what is that on your head?
I've told you before, this is a chimney with a person
Sean, why is that on his head?
that's stuck in the chimney. It's a Santa. This is like Santa had a rough day. This chimney maybe not as clean as a chimney should be. I don't know.
You should probably take it off.
I'm not taking it off.
You should probably take it off.
Why should I take it off, DJ? I have the Christmas spirit. I'm sorry you don't with your just be yourself hat.
Yeah, I am
myself. Just being myself.
I am being myself.
I'm being myself too.
You're not a chimney.
I'm wearing this hat because I have the Christmas spirit, and DJ hates Christmas.
I do not hate Christmas.
DJ hates Christmas.
I do not hate Christmas.
Listen, look at my snowman sweater. I'm just being myself.
Why is the other snowman sad?
Because he got his carrot nose taken away, and the other one's wearing it where his schmenzer is.
So you're wearing a thief snowman. You're wearing criminal
snowman. He's the thief
snowman.
with the carrot wiener, yes.
Anyway.
He's got a carrot nose and a carrot dong.
So it's funny, like on the show on Friday, when I was with the Killer Bees, with Jeremy and them.
Yeah.
It's funny, like we were talking about Davis or Case. We all were thinking it was Davis, and like I got a text saying like, "Oh, it might be Case." They were like, "I heard you on the radio. It might be Case." I was like, "Oh, okay." So I texted some people, and I reached out to some people at ESPN like, "Hey, we got to change our report because like it's saying like it's gonna be Davis, but actually might not be Davis. We need to cover our butts." I put out that tweet that it was saying Davis or Case. So that I guess later on the night, Aaron Wilson, he had broke you that it was gonna be Case, and then we kind of already it was kind of a done deal at that point. I just didn't feel comfortable like going fully with it, but when I was hearing that it was Case earlier in the day, so shout out to Aaron for sealing that deal. But yeah, I would say Friday is when, because funny like the context clues were there throughout the week when I was talking to players, right? I was here, they were saying like, one play I see one guy, the next play I see another. Well, I'm thinking, all right, it's just, whatever. I think in that moment I should have been like, wait, what? So I would say like Fridays when it was like more legitimate, and that was going to be Case, and it worked on Sunday, they were able to get that win.
I get why they did it because Mills can't move, and the offensive line, who I know DeMeco Ryan said played their ass off on Sunday, especially when it came to run blocking. There's some clear limitations with the offensive line right now. I go back to 2017, DJ, when the Texans lost to Deshaun Watson for the year. And I remember having a conversation with somebody who was like, hey, what are you guys going to do at quarterback? Tom Savage clearly can't move. And he said, we have the worst offensive line in the league. We need to have a mobile quarterback. And he was implying Colin Kaepernick at that moment in time.
Right.
Like he would have been interested in them bringing him in. And I remember thinking to myself there, like, hey, at this point in the season, and especially with the limitations with offensive lines going into the year and then all the injuries that the Texans have on their offensive line on top of all of that, Keenum does have mobility, even though the guy's in his mid-30s.
Yeah. I mean, I think Davis has a little bit more, but I think, either way, I think both of them have enough mobility to where it could work. We saw some of the plays where Case would like run around and try to make plays. Hopefully, they can get CJ back this week. I'm not really optimistic on that front.
You're not optimistic.
No, I'm not that optimistic on that front. Maybe because he didn't come close to practicing last week.
Not even close. He didn't travel, right?
Yeah, he didn't travel. Didn't come he didn't even come close to practicing, right? Like, that kind of gave an indication that it might be longer than, it could be longer than just one game, because it was very reminiscent, like the hit, the reaction was very reminiscent, minus the hands, to when Tua got slammed against the Bengals.
It was a hard hit.
Yeah.
You told us that last week, and on top of that, we've seen CJ leave the field multiple times this year and come right back in. People on the field thought that he was dazed in that moment. He was clearly dazed in that moment against the Jets.
Right.
I don't know how the concussion protocol works. We're obviously going to find out as well with Trevor Lawrence, who's also in it right now.
Yeah.
And I don't even know where Trevor Lawrence got hit in that Sunday night football game against the Ravens. Maybe it happened before that weird fumble that he had where he was just trying to switch hands.
Right.
But that is definitely not good for a Texans team going up against a Browns team that, is limited at quarterback, but their defense is pretty terrifying.
Yeah, I mean, they have the top 10 number one total defense in the league. Like, they have the number one total defense in the league.
Yikes.
It's like their whole team's under, I think, 280 yards per game. Going into last week, it was 263. Haven't seen the updated numbers, but it's probably still in the 260s, 270s. Like, that's insane. Like, to hold a team consistently under 300 week after week after week. Like, they're a dominant defensive front, and they have no holes in the entire unit. Like, they're stout up front. They have dogs on the back end. They're very similar to the Jets, minus the fact that they can legitimately stop the run consistently. That's the only Jets defensive flaw. But the pass defense is in the same air in terms of being able to really, like, choke you out. So, yeah, I mean, we all hope CJ can get back. I'm not that optimistic about that. Hopefully I'm wrong. Mainly because, again, like, I'd rather see CJ out there. But I think Nico will be back this week. So
that's at least good.
Yeah, so, like, you won't be out there with both hands behind your back, just maybe one hand behind your back against that defense. But, man, this week is going to be interesting for sure in that regard. Because, it's funny, like, I don't know if I said on here, but, like, usually when a backup quarterback starts the first game, the team usually either covers the spread or they win outright. And but it only lasts for, like, one or maybe a game and a half. So we've already crossed that one. The game went into overtime, so we might have kind of went into that game and a half threshold already.
It did feel like he was getting confidence as the game went on, but at the same time, some of that confidence perhaps a little misplaced, like on that throw that he had to Dalton Schultz, where Schultz somehow stole the ball away.
Yeah.
There's a lot of almost interceptions in this game. To go back to the Browns, who are up next on the schedule for the Texans, I saw John Crumpler tweet out a bunch of interesting statistics about the Browns defense. And I also saw this video. I don't know if you've seen it, DJ. Somebody put together a montage of all the times that Myles Garrett got held on Sunday to music, and they didn't call a hold once. So I don't know what the Texans got to do, hold him every single play, or maybe leave a helmet on the ground and like dare him to bash someone with it. But I don't know what they're going to do against Garrett, because Garrett's maybe the defensive player of the year in the NFL this year.
He is. Yeah, no, I would say, like, if he goes against Laramie, then it's basically to a draw, because basically best on best. But if he's on the other side, you got to bring help, a lot of help. Because he's going against, because Fant obviously was dealing with the hip issue, so he probably won't be 100%. Or if it's Charlie Heck, like,
what the heck?
Let's be for real. You know what I mean? Like,
you're stuck in heck.
You can't leave those guys one-on-one with Myles Garrett. Maybe for like a play or two, if you're doing a quick game, getting the ball out quickly. But if you're doing anything that's like, 5-step drop or if it's 30 long, like, you have to give that man some help against a guy like that. And that's no shade to them. That's just, you're going against the best edge rusher in the game right now, from a physical standpoint, from a production standpoint, he's a cartoonishly freakish athlete. So it's gonna be interesting to see what they devise for that. That's gonna be a tough game, man. That's gonna be all right. The defense has to show up. I mean, granted, last week was probably the best defensive performance of the season for the Texans.
Definitely. I don't think it's a question.
Yeah. Because Steelers game, they held them to 6 points, but they were up playing with a lead. This game, they were down 13, and like they couldn't allow any more leakage, and they basically choked them out until like later on in the game, when I think they might have got a field goal or something. I
mean, they held Derrick Henry to a record few yards despite all the touches that he got in that game, and also the coverage. I don't know if it was for the most part Derek Stingley on DeAndre Hopkins or Steven Nelson, but whatever combination, I mean, it was good, and both of those corners look great. But Hopkins had 2 catches for 21 yards on 9 targets, which is, I mean, both of the numbers that they put up against those two are insane. I mean, the Titans at the very least have a quarterback in Will Levis who maybe makes some careless decisions, like that interception he threw to Steven Nelson, but the guy has balls, and he'll throw the ball into a tough spot, and Texans were there just about every single time that they needed to be.
Yeah, so I think it's a combination of both, right? Good coverage, taking away his first read, because he doesn't really like scan the field very well.
That is true.
Yeah, he kind of locks into one guy, and if it's not there, then like he'll slowly move to the other side. But at that point, it's too late. So yeah, they're able to take advantage of that. They're gonna need that again this week because I mean Joe Flacco, even though Joe Flacco just came off the street or whatever, but Joe Flacco's a veteran. He's been playing pretty well in that system, even though he had kind of up and down game. He had 3 touchdowns, but he had 3 interceptions. Majority of it the touchdowns came in the fourth quarter.
Right.
Can't really rely on that. But yeah, this is gonna be one of those slugfests that's gonna be if you want to bet over under, bet the under in this game, because I don't know how either team is going to be able to score a bunch of points to really blow this open. So hopefully they can get CJ back. Next year, optimistic, and we're just gonna have to see.
We will see on that front. He is DJ Bien-Aime, Houston Texans beat reporter, ESPN. Paul Galancho, ESPN 97.5 and 92.5. It's going to be an interesting matchup of coaches on Sunday, and we touched on this in our pre-show text about the idea that DeMeco Ryans is, after an awful loss against the Jets, now perhaps back in the Coach of the Year conversation.
Right.
I think you got to put Shane Steichen in there.
You got to put Kevin
Stefanski on the other sideline, I think, is the front runner right now.
Yeah. I mean, what they're down to? This is their 4th different quarterback?
Yeah, it's crazy. I mean, I said going into the year, and someone on the text line was like, "Oh, Paul, where are you on Kevin Stefanski now?" Like, I'm shocked. Honestly, I can't believe that it's gone this well, considering that yet again they were having issues with Deshaun Watson when Watson was healthy.
Yeah.
And here they are at this point in the year on another quarterback making it work. He deserves a whole lot of credit because this was a guy going into the year that was definitely on a hot seat.
Yeah, I mean, they lost some tackles, they lost their quarterback, they on a 4th quarterback, they lost their best offensive player overall, Nick Chubb, and
I forgot about the Chubb injury.
and they're still pushing on forward. So he's in it. DeMeco is obviously in it. I think if DeMeco can win a division, I think if Shane or DeMeco win a division, then they'll get Coach of the Year. Kevin, it depends. If those two don't win a division, then I think Kevin will probably get it because being down to your quarterback is kind of crazy. Even though I don't really like the rules, like what we deem Coach of the Year.
It does feel like if you're a rookie head coach, you're not going to get it. It is. I agree with you because it's generally not the best coach in the NFL every year. It's like who has the best story.
Yeah, I find that stupid. Like Brian Daboll getting Coach of the Year last year was so stupid to me. You finished 3rd in your own division and you got boat raced by the Giants and the Eagles in both games. 4 games where you just get absolutely slaughtered. I get it. Like you weren't supposed to be good. Blah blah blah. Whatever. Who cares? Like. The Niners were on their 3rd string quarterback and were the 2 seed. Like they're just better. They're a better, in my estimation, like better coaching job. Even like last year, like Doug Peterson, like they won their division after having the number 1 pick and then winning the division. Like it should have went to him or Kyle Shanahan. Like I hate the whole who gets the Coach of the Year thing because it almost feels like we're trying to make up for being wrong when in reality, like who cares if we're wrong about like how we projected these teams? Let's just go with who's legitimately doing the best coaching job.
Yeah, and to your point about Doug Peterson, I mean Peterson, they won the division last year in spite of having Trevor Lawrence under center.
Yeah, I mean, it's bad funny.
I'm sorry, I haven't taken a shot at Trevor Lawrence yet. Lawrence is a good quarterback. I won't deny that.
Quarterback, yeah.
You know who he reminds me of, DJ? And I don't know if this is ahead of too far back for you or for Sean Mapes behind the glass, but he reminds me of Donovan McNabb. Here's
How
why
too far for me.
I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you're the one that says that. You both said that Ed, like Barry Sanders. You guys are like, yeah, scrub. He's going up against plumbers.
Who said that?
I don't know. I might be paraphrasing a little bit.
Nobody said Barry Sanders.
DJ Bien-Aime said like Barry Sanders. Like, could he make it in today's NFL?
Who said that? I never said that.
I'm making that up entirely.
Of course.
All I'm saying is that I get crap for being old all the time, so I may as well ask if you guys have watched Donovan McNabb.
I think Donovan McNabb at this point is better than Trevor, though.
Here's why I make the comparison, though. So both of them do a lot of things very well. McNabb was mobile. McNabb could make some very pretty throws. I say the same thing about Trevor Lawrence. The thing that's similar between the two of them is that when they misfire, they miss by a lot. Trevor Lawrence will throw dirt balls. Ask any Eagles fan what their favorite memory of Donovan McNabb is. And even though he was, for the longest time, the best quarterback in their franchise history, they'll be like, the time that McNabb threw it in the dirt. Like, they'll talk about that. Or they'll talk about him puking in the not like 4 interceptions in the first half puking, but puking in the Super Bowl and stuff. So I feel like they're good quarterbacks. they were quarterbacks that people thought could be the best in the NFL.
Right.
And they're probably never going to quite get there, even though we'd probably say like they're top 12, 10. And that's where Lawrence is. And you watch that game on Sunday, and now the Jaguars, they've lost 3 in a row. Technically, they could have lost 4 in a row.
Yeah,
they could be 5 losses in 6 games as well, because they got smoked by San Francisco not that long ago. And it does make me think back, like wishing that the Texans had Kaimi Fairbairn for that game and that kick at the very end that Amendola hit the crossbar on.
Nah, you're right about that. Yeah, the Jags they're most definitely reeling, bringing it back to the whole AFC South. They're most definitely reeling. Again, like it's funny, like once Trevor got hurt, I think like he should have, it's funny, like I said they were gonna lose the next 2 games after he got hurt, but in reality he should have sat out that Browns game, got back a little bit more healthy or whatever, and then possibly played against the Ravens, but obviously like he didn't. Now they're 8-6. The schedule isn't too tough, but I mean, they do go to Tampa Bay this week. I could see them losing that game, but they've been oddly better away from Jacksonville than at Jacksonville. So we'll see that on that front. But yeah, the Texans, it'd be funny if Week 18 is for the division. It'd be very funny if that's the case. If Week 18 is for the division, for the Texans, I don't see a scenario where it could be for the division for the Colts unless the Jags find a way to lose a couple more games.
Right. The Colts schedule, the next couple of games, though, I think that of the Jaguars is pretty favorable. Now, it really depends on, I guess, what you think about Vegas, but the next 3 games for the Colts at Atlanta this coming Sunday. Atlanta just lost to the effing Panthers.
Yeah, but that'd be tough.
You think so, coming after that loss?
Yeah, that'd be tough.
It's still Desmond Ritter. Then they have
Tyler Heineke. He's starting now.
Oh, I forgot. Yeah. Oh, jeez.
Yeah. Arthur Smith almost cost me my fantasy playoff game by not playing Bijan, by not giving Bijan Robinson the ball. But we pulled through. We got the win. On to the next round.
Through. Nice. I'm not going to talk about my fantasy team because neither of them made the playoffs.
Loser.
Yeah, second and third most points in both leagues and missed the playoffs in both.
Loser.
Dying to fire. Vegas is next up for the Colts after that, and then they play the Texans the last week of the year. The Jaguars, meanwhile, I have a hard time seeing them not winning the division because at the Bucs, okay, that might be a tough game. Panthers at Titans the last game of the year. I think the Jaguars can end up winning it.
I think at Titans the end of the year could be tricky for them.
Bro, with the way they're playing, yes, I agree with you.
Like the Titans defense has been playing well lately. Obviously, we saw what they did against Miami. We saw what they did last week. Obviously, backup quarterback, But you can't with confidence be like, oh, the Jags are gonna just win out. Like they just lost to the Bengals on their back who didn't have Joe Burrow.
I think though the Bengals, I respect what they're doing because they've done this before, obviously with Joe Burrow in the past. But I mean, that game on Saturday against the Vikings, where it looked like they were completely out of it. I don't know. They just got some balls. And
yeah, for sure.
But they have a tricky next couple of games as well. At Pittsburgh, at KC, Cleveland at home to wrap up the year.
Ooh.
Yeah, that's not great. That is not great. And I mean, look, Pittsburgh with Mason Rudolph under center. They're probably in pretty good shape there.
Yeah, they'll beat them.
So as far as all those 8-6 teams, we mentioned the Browns as well. The Browns have at the Texans on Sunday. They have the Jets at home, and then they have the Bengals the last game of the year, as we just mentioned. And the other team that's hanging around,
I know,
the Bills, who might be are the Bills right now post Sean McDermott. Being exposed to somebody who once used the 9/11 hijackers to motivate his players. They're 2-0 since that came to light, and their last 3 games of the year at the Chargers, New England at home, and then at your Miami Dolphins, who are 2 games ahead of them in the AFC East.
Yeah, no, if the Bills get in, man, they're scary. They're for sure scary. I do think that the tiebreakers might do them in because they can't afford a single loss, right? If they lose one game, right, then they're going to be in a situation where, like, because the tiebreakers are not in their favor at all. That's why even at 8-6, they're still behind the Texans, right? Like, if they lose one game, and let's say the Broncos went out, right? That's a head-to-head over them. Let's say the Bengals win 2 out of 3. They're 10-7. That's another team ahead of them. So I would say, if they lose one game, they're kind of cooked. Like I think their path is mainly winning division, or they're probably going to be at home. But if they get in, they're very scary. They're very scary if they get in. But yeah, I mean, it's funny. Like the Texans, they control their destiny. I think if they can win this game, then they'll be in a great spot. Because then they'll be 9-6. They'll beat the Titans at home. Like that, I know they'll do. They'll beat the Titans at home. Because there was nothing like the Titans did that. Like I don't know how the Titans fix their issues, right? Because like they have, like on the offensive side, they have structural issues up front. the line of scrimmage.
Yeah.
Like,
it's crazy how bad that offensive line
that
got.
offensive line.
It used to be great.
Yeah, it's horrendous.
Yeah.
So, like, you can't fix that in 2 weeks.
No, they gave him 7 sacks, and Will Anderson didn't even play.
Yeah, exactly. So I would say that's again that they should win in that last game. They should at the bare minimum go into the last game with 9 wins. It should be 9-7 or 10-6. Yeah,
That'd be
10
sick.
6, yeah.
That would be sick if that were the case. Okay, 2 really quick questions before we let you go. CJ Stroud, you said you weren't feeling optimistic. Is it a greater than 50% chance, in your estimation, and again, it's Tuesday, that he plays Sunday against the Browns?
I would put like 55, 45.
55! Oh, 55, 45? Wait, which is it?
So the 45 is plays, 55 is doesn't play.
Oh, that's not cool. That like at 55, I hear that first, I'm like, oh, he will play. No, that. Okay, fine.
If he practices tomorrow, then that changes stuff. But right now, you got to get through phase 4, which is non-contact practicing. If you get through that, then you're usually good. But like, if he's not out there on Wednesday, then it gets really tricky because then Thursday practice, which is the most important practice, if he goes out there and it's non-contact, and that one's non-contact, Fridays is a walkthrough. I mean, you can say that's contact, but like, let's be for real. So it should be kind of hard to pass all those barometers. But I guess what gave you guys what can give you guys hope is he was real doubtful on Friday last week. He was real doubtful, so maybe he was making good enough progress.
Okay, last question.
Yeah.
Yes or no? Texans win Sunday. It's Tuesday. It's early.
If CJ doesn't play, no. If he does play, yes.
But TJ said that last week, and the Texans won. They beat the Titans.
I did say that.
I am with you in that. Probably shouldn't have gone down that way, but hey, I'll take it. He is DJ Bien-Aime. Catch his work, ESPN.com, covering your Houston Texans.